stationary.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it just draws a line really slowly. And then, no, it was a tandem bicycle.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that.
So we left off chapter 2, and it was hanging from a nub, but it was the wrong nub. Chapter 3. I wasn't sure what to do next, so I stood telling myself that I must have put the key back in the wrong place. But I didn't believe it. Then I decided that it still had to be Nick. Easier to blame him than me anyway. Is it usually easier to blame other people?
Yeah.
I saw his car right at that minute, turning into our driveway, coming to a stop below his apartment. Speak of the devil, I said. Old Nick himself. I came out from under the tree and walked across the grass. Hi, I said. The key was hidden, sharp and warm in my closed fist. Hi, Marcus, you just get here? Just about. He was leaning into the back of the car, bringing out a box with 24 multicolored Christmas lights printed on it. I promised your mom I'd get a set of these on my way home. She thought the tree was kind of bare. Oh. She hadn't mentioned to me that the tree was kind of bare. When did she and Nick have these private conversations, and when had he taken that photograph? Would you close the door for me? Nick headed around the house, and I walked a pace behind him. It's locked, I said when he stopped at the door. You have your key? He asked. I nodded, but kept my fist closed. Without saying anything else, Nick took his keys from his pocket and put one in the lock, and the door opened. You have a key to our house? I asked, trying not to sound the way I felt. Actually, I wasn't sure what way I felt. One thing, though, if he had his own key, he didn't need mine. He glanced down at me. Your mom gave it to me in case I need to do laundry when there's no one home, stuff like that. He moved to one side. Come on in. Gee, thanks. I didn't bother to disguise my sarcasm. Where did he get off inviting me into my own house? I picked up my backpack and Aunt Charlie's package and stepped past him. But just inside the door I stopped. Wait a sec, Nick. I was listening hard but hearing nothing. It made no sense anyway. If someone had been here, they'd gone already. If someone had been here, they'd use the key and put it back. What are we waiting for? Nick asked. I shrugged, glancing around the kitchen. Everything looked normal. I set the parcel and my backpack on the table. I thought I heard a noise, I said to Nick. This time of year, you know. The house empty. Sometimes people try to get in and rip stuff off. Nick bent to look into my face, which I made carefully blank, and then put a hand between my shoulder blades. Well, let's just check. I liked it that he didn't give me any bull. I liked it that he didn't sound fake cheerful either, the way you'd be with a little kid who thought there was a monster in the closet. I guess most teachers are psychologists, too. We went from room to room, and I have to admit it was nice having Nick there. Who's going to jump out from under the bed and tackle a big guy like this one? The house was calm and quiet, filled with the comforting warmth of sunlight. Mom had put some white camellias in a glass jar on her bedside table, and one of the petals fell with a plop and a dusting of pollen. Nobody here, I said. We have a laundry room with a toilet and wash basin. Nick opened the door to look inside. A narrow flight of uncarpeted steps from the laundry room led to our half-unfinished attic. I'll just check above, too, he said, and I nodded. Why not? Our attic's full of old boxes, the trunk Dad had when he went away to college, the old cedar chest, and cobwebs. When Nick was partway up the steps, he opened the hatch that was the attic door, and then all I could see were his furry legs, his white socks, and his white Nikes. Nothing here. He edged back down, closing the hatch behind him. It must have been Santa and his elves you heard. I guess so. I hadn't realized my stomach was knotted until it relaxed on me, so I had simply hung that key on the wrong nub this morning. Okay. I followed Nick back into the living room and watched as he clipped the new lights on the tree. That's better, he said, when he turned them on. I thought so too, even though I'd thought there were enough before. Mom should have asked me, I muttered, but Nick didn't answer. He paused on the way back to the kitchen. Do you mind being alone, Marcus? You can come up with me, you know. I don't mind. Actually, I like being alone, I added. Yes, that's what your mom tells me. So she told them that, had he? Had she? Then Nick opened the door into the garage and switched on the light. I guess when this guy checks a place, he really checks it. Looking past him, I could see the workbench, my bike on its kickstand, the drape, hiding Mom's present and all my bike junk in a pile in the corner. I could see the oil spot, shaped like Australia, on the floor. Robbie and I had put red blobs for Perth and Sydney and Udnandara, a town Robbie had found in the middle of the map of Australia. He said he liked the sound of it. There was nobody hiding in the garage area either. Get your campies yet? Nick asked. No. The Campagnola pedals were all I needed to finish Mom's bike. They were on order in Henry's bike shop, but they hadn't come in yet. I hated it that Nick knew about them and about Mom's present. I hadn't meant to share the secret, but he'd come into the garage one day while I was working on the bike, so I'd had to tell. He'd walked all around it, admiring it, and I could see he was really amazed that I'd built it from scratch. Actually, Nick's always nice to me. That's not the problem. The problem is I'm happy here by myself with Mom, and I don't want him trying to get in good with her by getting in good with me. Not that he seems to be having any trouble getting in good with her. She'd even give him a key. Have you tried the other bike shops in town for the campies? Nick asked. You might luck out. I'm going to check Henry's again tomorrow, I said. He thought they'd be in. Thanks for the lights and for the house search. I feel kind of stupid. No need. Getting scratchy. I'm tired of this cold.
I can get you some water if you'd like.
I feel kind of stupid. No need. Nick sounded fatherly, and if there's one thing I'm not in the market for, it's a father. How much do we owe you for the lights? I asked, reminding him that all he is here is a paying tenant. No need for that either. I couldn't figure out the look he gave me. See you, he said. I walked straight into the hall when he left. Got the blackthorn stick that used to be my father's and went over the house again myself. This time I checked to see if anything was missing because somebody might have been in here. It wasn't likely, but still. We didn't have sterling silver, but Mom's silver plate was all there in the sideboard drawer. The dimes she collects in a green glass jar seemed to be at the same level. I stood in the silence of her bedroom. She has a Chinese jewel box that locks with a brass key that she keeps in the drawer under her pantyhose. I found the key, opened the box, and went over her valuables one by one. There aren't that many, and they were all there. The pin set and pearls that Grandma had given her, her garnet earrings. My dad had bought her those on their 5th anniversary, and his gold watch. I took it out and held it against my wrist. The watch will be mine when I'm 16. My dad wore it all his life, even when he was sick. You can still see the marks on the leather strap where he had to tighten it on his wrist when he got thinner and thinner. I ran my fingers along the grooves, thinking, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and then nothing. My throat hurt. I held the watch face to my cheek, the glass cool against my skin. Then I set it to the right time by my mom's little bedside clock, wound it up and put it back in the box. I could still hear it ticking when I closed and locked the lid. I was really, really glad nobody had taken the watch. And I was relieved, too, because if somebody had been in our house, that watch would have been long gone. I could relax. Ding dong! The doorbell rang, making me jump. No need to be nervous anymore, for Pete's sake. Whew. But I went in the living room and peeked through the window before I opened the door. It was Miss Sarah. She gave me a paper plate of cookies covered with saran wrap. I baked these for you and your mom, she said. Oh, thanks. I peeled off a corner and sampled one. It was still warm. Good, I said. And Marcus, tell your mother she may share them with the young man upstairs. He's upstairs outside, Miss Sarah, I said. He's just renting our apartment. He's just our paying tenant. Miss Sarah sniffed. I understand he was married once. That's what he said. He had a child, too. I know. Somehow I didn't like talking about Nick with Miss Sarah. It seemed disloyal, although I couldn't think why. Miss Sarah sniffed again. I expect he'll be eating Christmas dinner with us. She means with Mom and me and her and Coriander. Mom always invites them for Christmas dinner if we're home and not at Grandma's in Minnesota. Mom said we couldn't afford Minnesota this year. I try not to be suspicious that we could afford it okay, but that she just wants to be here because of Nick. I expect she will ask him for dinner, I said. I mean, he'd be all on his own. I tried to sound full of Christmas cheer, but thinking of Nick and Mom didn't make it that easy.